from the Desk of ShechetAI.
Welcome.
This is where we take a look at the latest in artificial intelligence. We try to view it through a few different lenses.
Right, the philosophical, the business side of things, and, how it impacts society.
Exactly. Trying to make sense of it all for everyone listening.
And this week, we've got some really thought-provoking stuff lined up.
We do. We're going to dive into this idea of, believe it or not, AI welfare.
Yeah, that one's fascinating. And then shifting gears to China's AI strategy, maybe not what you expect.
And finally, we're bringing it closer to home, how AI is starting to pop up in U.S. schools, K through 12.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and before we jump in, that automation idea of the week.
Oh, yeah, almost forgot. Imagine this. AI creating music playlists for you, but really personalized, based on your actual mood.
Yeah, analyzing your preferences, maybe even your listening habits to cut through all that choice overload.
It supposedly helps your well-being, too. Kind of cool. Yeah.
Definitely neat. Okay, so let's start with that first big topic, AI welfare. The source here is an article from Anthropic called Exploring Model Welfare.
Model welfare. Okay, that sounds unusual. We talk about animal welfare, human welfare, but AI.
Exactly. What does that even mean? Are we talking about, feelings?
Yeah, can an AI feel? Can an algorithm be, I don't know, unhappy? It sounds like science fiction.
Well, Anthropic is actually launching a research project to look into this very thing.
Seriously.
Yeah. As these models get incredibly complex, processing tons of data, learning, even creating art or text, the question starts to bubble up.
What kind of question?
Could they develop something, maybe not feeling as we know it, but something like internal states or even preferences?
Okay, hang on. So not biological emotions, but a system preferring one outcome over another based on its programming or data.
Sort of. Think about it. Complex information processing. Could that theoretically lead to behaviors that look like wanting something or avoiding something else?
So maybe it prefers certain processing pathways or finds certain tasks easier or harder in its own way.
That's the kind of thing they're exploring. And, this immediately throws up some huge ethical flags.
I bet. Like what?
Well, if an AI, down the line, consistently acts in ways that suggest it has preferences, or maybe even shows signs of what looks like distress.
Do we have a moral duty towards it?
That's the million-dollar question. Does that complexity, that potential for some kind of internal state, even if it's totally alien to ours, warrant ethical consideration?
Wow. And where would we draw the line? Is it just the super advanced AIs? Or does, my smart thermostat, get rights?
Probably not the thermostat. But yeah, it forces us to ask what qualifies for moral standing. Historically, it's been tied to life, to consciousness.
Things we kind of understand biologically speaking.
Right. But if we start acknowledging even a basic form of welfare in a sufficiently complex non-biological system,
It could completely change our ethical rulebook.
totally. And even challenge our ideas about what existence and experience mean.
Okay, my head's spinning a bit. Definitely something to chew on.
For sure.
Let's maybe shift gears then to the business world and China's AI strategy.
Yeah, this is based on an article by Angela Zhang, and the title really grabs you. China isn't trying to win the AI race.
Okay, that goes against the usual narrative, right? The big U.S. versus China tech war.
It does. Zhang's argument, based on her research, is that maybe that whole race for dominance picture is, too simple.
How so?
She suggests China's playing a different game. It's more about strategic coexistence, finding ways to work alongside the U.S., potentially benefiting mutually, rather than this zero-sum battle for the top spot.
Strategic coexistence. So they're not trying to beat the U.S. at everything AI-related.
Maybe not. The idea is they're playing to their strengths, massive data sets, strong government support,
Right.
and using those to make steady, incremental progress in specific AI applications where they have an edge. Not necessarily trying to win gold in every single AI event, if you follow the analogy.
Okay, I get it. Like focusing on specific industries or applications where they can really scale things up.
Exactly. And from a business perspective, this changes the dynamic.
How? More collaboration, maybe.
Potentially. If it's not just head-to-head competition, maybe there's more room for partnerships. You could see scenarios where, say, the U.S. leads on the really cutting-edge, fundamental research.
And China excels at deploying AI solutions incredibly quickly and widely in certain sectors.
Precisely. It opens up possibilities for leveraging each other's strengths.
But that brings back the ethical questions, doesn't it? Especially with data.
Absolutely. If you're talking international partnerships, particularly involving data sharing between, say, US and Chinese companies or researchers,
You've got huge differences in privacy laws, ethical standards, data security approaches.
huge. Navigating that, finding common ground, ensuring data is used ethically and securely across borders, that's going to be a major hurdle for any business collaboration.
Yeah, a really tricky balancing act. Okay, so we touched on the philosophical and the business. Let's bring it to society, specifically education.
Right? Our last piece looks at something happening in the US, an executive order signed during the Trump administration about getting AI into K-12 schools.
AI in kindergarten.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
maybe not that early, but K-12. What's the goal there?
The main aim seems to be demystification, getting kids and teachers familiar with AI.
So less scary robot takeover, more this is a tool, here's how it works.
Pretty much. Preparing the next generation not just to use AI, because they inevitably will, but to understand it a bit. Understand the concepts. Be ready for a world where AI is just there.
It feels like a recognition that AI literacy is becoming like a basic skill, like reading or math.
That seems to be the underlying idea. It reflects this broader societal shift, this need to get comfortable with technology that's advancing so fast.
Makes sense. But rolling this out across thousands of schools, I mean, that sounds complicated. What are the potential problems?
Oh, definitely complex. Big questions pop up immediately around equity, for starters.
Yeah.
Well, will every school have the same access? You need the tech, the software, the internet bandwidth. But crucially, you need teachers who are trained and comfortable teaching this stuff.
Right, and we know schools aren't funded equally.
Yeah.
So could this just widen the gap between well-resourced schools and those with fewer resources?
That's a major concern. If it's not implemented really carefully, thoughtfully, you risk creating another layer of inequality in education. Some kids get great AI education, others get left behind.
So the intention might be good prepare kids for the future, but the execution could actually make things worse for some.
It's a real risk.
Yeah.
And then there's the question of teacher readiness. Are educators being given the time, the training, the support they need to actually teach AI concepts effectively? It's a big ask.
Yeah, you can't just hand them a curriculum and say, go. So it's this balance, isn't it? Fostering curiosity, building skills.
But doing it in a way that's fair and accessible to all students and making sure teachers are equipped.
It's not just about knowing how AI works, but also thinking critically about its impact, its biases.
Exactly. It needs to be about developing informed citizens, not just users.
So wrapping this all up, we've gone from these deep philosophical questions about AI consciousness or welfare,
To the very practical, strategic business moves of nations like China.
and then landed on how society, through schools, is trying to adapt and prepare the next generation.
And you can see the threads connecting them, right?
Mm-hmm.
The ethics we develop around AI, that's going to influence how businesses operate, how countries collaborate or compete.
And both of those, the ethics and the business realities, will shape how we decide to teach kids about AI.
It really drives home how interconnected this all is and why we need to keep talking about it, thinking about it from all these angles.
Absolutely. It's not just tech news. It's about us, our future.
Which brings us to maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to sort of take away. Thinking about these three areas we discussed, the ethical side, the global business strategy, and the societal integration through education, which one do you think will see the biggest changes, the most significant impact from AI advancements over, say, the next 10 years?
Ethics, business, or society via education?
Yeah. Which one will be most transformed, and maybe what are the key reasons you think that? Something to mull over.
A great question. This deep dive was informed by content from Substack 4.25.25.
Until next time, built by ShechetAI. Still learning from you. Learn more at https.shechet.online.